AtD as an institution, or as a group, has now decided that their focus is going to be on the teaching and learning side of student success. And that's really where students succeed, not necessarily through that student services direction. So I was very encouraged and very excited about that, because now that means that ICC is, as an institution, is probably going to start bringing faculty more centered and more focused into the work of what AtD is doing, because that's going to be the focus of AtD. So that's the start of this TLC, this Teaching Learning Summit. We talked, the whole idea of this was to how can we infuse various topics into faculty development, into teaching and learning on our campuses. We had 3 tracks that we chose from. That's why we have so many people here. We all had a different track. The 3 different tracks were an diversity equity track that Ralph Murphy and I were on. There was an OER track that Kate and Jessica and James, the 3 of you, were on. And then there was a guided pathways and faculty development track that the rest of the crew was on. And they'll actually take most of their time today to talk about that track, because right after this session, we want to encourage folks to come to either Dr. Murphy and I's session specifically on culture and diversity in the classroom, or the OER session, which is on OERs. Okay, there we go. Any questions before I start bringing people up to talk about the specifics?
So is ADT now going to strictly focus? Is it shift? Is it add?
They have the same pillars. They have the same pillars. They just restructured it, so now teaching and learning is in the center of that, rather than just being one of the pieces. If anything, they had student services in the center in the past, and they're shifting it to make teaching and learning in the center. So it's a lot of conversation about how can we do these various initiatives through faculty development and teaching and learning at our institutions. Talked a lot about creating good teaching and learning centers at our own community colleges, what that's going to look like. And one of their big focuses as well, is that faculty will lead that initiative. That faculty lead the idea of faculty development and TLC work. So, okay. I'm going to have Dr. Murphy come up first and talk about what we did in our pathway. Then we'll have the OER group talk about what they did in their path, and then the track, and then we'll have our pathways people come up. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, happy people. A little bit about AtD. So I will share with you all, I have had the pleasure of going to AtD as a Dean of Student and Development of Success, and also as a faculty member as well. And I must say that my fondest experience has been going as a faculty member. So if you get a chance, if it comes up in the future, I strongly encourage you going to this type of conference, professional development, as a faculty member, because I think that it served us all very well to be in the room with like minds, to share different ideas, different goals, things of that nature that you're doing at our college, and then other professors at their prospective colleges from across the country. Okay. Second, I might add, from a diversity, equity, and inclusion standpoint, it was very, very good for myself and Julie to sit down and work hand in hand with Dr. Clemens from Montgomery County Community College, who was an associate professor in communications. And what we talked about was how we, as a professor in the classroom, lead those type of discussions that include diversity, equity, and inclusion. And from our discussions, we worked on this culturally responsive curriculum scorecard, in which we will dive into a lot more in our next session on creating ways to increase influence in the classroom. Okay. Some key things that we talked about was, why are all the pages white? Okay, why are all the pages white from a perspective of diversity when you have a room of different perspectives in the classroom? There were also different conversations as it pertains to managing the classroom, who attends, who are our students. We know that our students are 77% female, white Caucasian female. age 24, and then also looking at the demographics from a diversity standpoint, with 26% being an African American woman. Okay. Also, we talked about, we got into a lot of great discussions as it pertains to diversity and inclusion from perspectives of what we believe diversity and inclusion is from a classroom perspective, and what different colleges are doing to increase their diversity and inclusion program. And Julie, if you want to add anything.
That sounds great.
Okay.
If you want to hear more, you can come to our session.
Yeah. So you want to hear more? You come to the session. Again, our session is based on the research that we gathered from our experience at this Teaching and Learning Summit, and we will go through the curriculum scorecard and what that looks like for the different pathways or different subject matter experts at the college. Okay? So next up, I'd like to call OERs, James, Jessica. All right.
I'll let our leader.
Okay. So I think, the three of us were able to attend on the OER track, and prior to going to the conference, we had kind of started to get the ball rolling here at ICC with some different things and looking at our processes, but I think going to the summit actually kind of reframed how we look at OER, because traditionally you kind of look at it as a cost-saving measure for students, and that's absolutely part of it. However, our eyes were opened up to the idea of open pedagogy and what that means for classroom interaction with students. And I think it really kind of sparked a new interest and love for the topic in us. And so we worked together as a team to go through some things and some exercises like you'll hear about in just a minute with the other group. But I don't want to give too much away because we also have a session. So what else would you add to that?
Yeah, I would say, this is on our IOP, so this is very much an institutional priority. And one of the things that we've learned is that the horse is out of the barn, so to speak, on OER at ICC, and we're sort of backfilling with policy. Mm-hmm. So for example, some basic easy things like how does the bookstore determine what's an OER course? They're using different terminologies depending on which professor, which department, and so forth. So we've got a lot of work to do on that. But also in terms of teaching, that the idea of the OER is remix, revise, reuse, but also your assignments can be sort of OER-based assignments that are remixed and reused. So rather than the traditional assignment that a student writes a paper, it's done. Instead, now we might have, let's say, in criminal justice. I know Nick, you do those news reports where they respond to something in the news about criminal justice. Well, instead of you looking at it, grading it, and away it goes, having a repository, and then maybe different topics in criminal justice, so the students could go and see, over the years now, there are all these articles on this topic. If I'm later in another course, maybe they're in Anthony White's course and they're writing on that topic, now they can go to that database. So it's actually an authentic and usable community-based sort of thing, and one of the speakers really got us jazzed up about that.
Well, just to kind of second that, so for me, and I won't say this in my session, so I feel like it's pertinent to say here, but so from a librarian standpoint, OER for me is about licensing, right? It's an alternative to copyright, and so that makes me incredibly excited, and it's this whole movement in publishing to get away from something that's traditionally been copyrighted, moving towards a Creative Commons or open license. But at AtD, what I learned is really that's just the tip of the iceberg, and the way higher ed is moving is with the intent to to engage students in a more critical way. And so the idea of the terminal assignment, like James was talking about, where a student turns in their assignment and they never look at it again, and poof, it's done, and at the end of the semester it's shredded, like that doesn't do our students any justice. Whereas if you give them the opportunity to, not a repository or a website, or just something that's living and breathing that they can put in a portfolio and take with them, then really that's a better outcome for the student, because it allows them to have something tangible, to evidence of their own learning. And so again, like I've drank the Kool-Aid big time. So as they say, and it's really just exciting. So if it seems like a weird, out of the box, I don't even know what this acronym means, please come to our session, because it's not going away. And what we were able to see with the interest at the conference, it's nationwide. There are some schools that are really doing some incredible things. There are some schools that are way behind us. So we're in a good spot. We're right in the middle. And there are state legislatures that are legislating that community colleges move towards OERs. And so it's exciting and it's interesting. And so I hope you're interested, and I invite you to come to our session. Stop
Great.
talking. Yeah.
So with that,
Yeah.
next up.
So before we get started, I was with them all weekend and I did not know that.
What?
I didn't know that. That's why you have to go to the sessions, right?
We were guided pathways. Our job, we were given a blank packet, which you all have, and then we'd fill it out. So we were encouraged to look at what did a culture of excellence in teaching and learning look like at ICC. So we were given AtD's guiding principles of a culture of excellence. It's on the first page. Full-time and adjunct faculty are using inclusive evidence-based instructional practices to foster student learning. Full-time and adjunct faculty are key collaborators in the college's student success efforts with staff and administrators in academic affairs and student affairs. Faculty and students engage as active learners in an accessible, empowering, personalized, and supportive academic community. An institution embraces professional learning for continuous improvement and aligns these activities and related expectations in hiring, evaluation, and promotion. So then we were in charge of coming up with a vision. So what did the student experience look like? That's our first box. And our second one is what would have to change. So we came up with a dynamic, I'm just going to read a couple because you can read the other ones if you'd like. Dynamic high-impact teaching practices, so professional teaching and learning development, content expertise. Clear expectations for students, so transparent outcomes, assignments, and syllabi. Intrusive faculty advising, so training, time and reimbursement for one-to-one relationship building with students. And then, am I doing this one? And then faculty experience, okay. A purposeful and focused professional development, so budget and culture change that prioritizes faculty development. Job satisfaction, so recognition, support, and leadership. And adequate administrative support, so a fully staffed and equipped teaching and learning center. Then, with those ideas, we came up with our vision. So our vision statement is at ICC, students will experience a classroom that is dynamic, inclusive, and safe, rooted in innovative technology, high-impact teaching practices, and collaboration. At ICC, faculty will experience a classroom that is engaged, satisfying, supportive, challenging, and collaborative.
How does that sound?
And then, that was a lot of rewriting. A lot of rewriting.
Yeah, it's a lot of edits. But everybody was involved in coming up with a part of it. And then Rose will talk about our goals. So how are we going to get there?
So I will tell you, well, there's some of my scribble. We had the AtD faculty or the persons that were running this whole conference, and I'd never been to one of those conferences before. So they sat at our table and kept making us think, what exactly is it that we need at ICC, and what do we want? What do we want to bring back to the faculty to share with you? What do we want? What am I learning from other colleges that presented there, and then sitting at the table, what is it, what do you want? So we had our goals, but I mean, I could read those, but very simply, I would say what I walked away with after this full packet was, we want, because of evidence, coast to coast, colleges like ours have benefits from having a supported learning center for faculty. So you can call that whatever you want to call it. So the goal, so this is written very academically, but that's my summary. So engagement of all faculty, that includes adjunct in particular. There was a lot of data presented. Colleges that incorporated adjunct in their processes had superior outcomes for their students. Engagement of all faculty in internal and external teaching and learning development annually as tied to strategic vision of the college. Second goal was establishment of a fully staffed and equipped teaching and learning center for faculty, staff, and students on each campus. Now that seems so far out there after the last couple of days of being back at school. However, it's a goal, and that's okay. Goals are good. Goal number 3, transparency and consistency in policy protocols, syllabi, staff onboarding, mentoring, resources, and support. So the next page, I'm not sure if they're paged or not, so it'd be 6. Some of the changes, structural and processes and attitudinal changes that would be needed for us to meet those goals. You can go through that, but it was creation of faculty enrichment planning committee, college-wide development, a transparent process, transparent reporting, but we even wanted or suggested, as we were guided, see if you can get a physical place for all of this to take place for faculty. That was clearly suggested. That is incorporated in other colleges, and faculty engagement and support was going on there.
So is that you finished? I think so.
Oh, goody.
Okay, and I get to report on our actions after we created our vision, we created our goal, then how are we going to get to where we want to be? And again, we had the faculty sit with us and guide us, but we did the thinking, just kind of maybe put the cherry on top of what we were thinking, making sure that we were going into the right area. So one of the first things that we said was consult Dr. Friesberg regarding the potential creation of faculty enrichment strategic planning team. And actually we did meet with her at the beginning of June. Consult current committees tied to faculty development, travel to investigate current practices and discuss process changes being suggested. We wanted to data mine and benchmark with other AtD schools, explore budget implications, investigate current fund reimbursement, and develop internal teaching and learning development opportunities, which as we went through the few days at the conference, we were given suggestions on some teaching ideas. One that really kind of hit home with me was having either a teaching partner or someone else within your department come to your classroom maybe a few minutes after class, maybe 4 or 5 weeks into the semester, and have them sit down with your students and say, so how are things going in the class? What would you change? What would you do different? You could either present it as written material, the other staff person, so it's not going to be the person teaching the class, would collect the material and give it back to the instructor. Hey, you're hitting the mark here, but you're missing it here. We just kind of felt like that was a way maybe to get the student thoughts before, well before they would do an evaluation of the course. So that was one of the good things. So Sherry will finish up.
Before I finish up with our action plan that we did, I wanted to mention that it wasn't just all work. We had fun while we were there.
Don't you be telling them that.
I'm not telling them what we
We
did.
worked all weekend in Minnesota.
This is still work, but I think one of the best parts of the whole weekend we were there was we were able to collaborate with other instructors, and they gave us ideas, and they're like, use these ideas. And sometimes, I mean, I've only been to ICC for 3 years, but sometimes it's hard getting somebody to give you something that they've made on their own sometimes. So I thought that was wonderful. And we brought, actually, we taught summer class, Suzanne and I, and we brought some of that collaborative learning back to our class over the summer, and I think it worked well.
I think so. I'm planning on it this fall as well.
I mean, it was just little things, you know, like how you stand up and you lecture for the whole time you're in class. Somebody told us, I lecture for 15 minutes and I stop, and we get up and we do something different. And I'm like, oh, that is so wonderful. And we did that, you know, instead of me standing up here and losing everybody's attention, it was just little things like that. They had a breakout session. It was 15 minutes lecture, do a group activity for 10 to 15 minutes, and then go back to your lecture and then do something else. It broke up the monotony of just standing up there and talking. And for a new instructor, I thought we took a lot out of that.
We did.
Right?
We did.
So we had some fun there. Learning what other...
Beer,
I didn't mention that.
cocktails.
But we did, it was fun to see how other instructors from other community colleges do stuff, because I think I took a lot of it back. And I think Suzanne did too. All right, so now that we have our vision and we have our goal set, how are we going to change this? How are we going to bring it back to ICC? We had to figure out who our stakeholders were. So our stakeholders were definitely faculty, they were administration, and the cabinet. So I can read this to you, but our key messages, we wanted for faculty, each faculty will have opportunity to engage in internal and external teaching and learning development annually in order to transform classroom experiences for faculty and students. For the key message for the administration, the best student outcomes result from the best teaching and learning, and that was one of our things. We wanted a teaching and learning facility so we could share those ideas and we could help our students. The best teaching and learning results from rich evidence-based teaching and learning development. And then finally for the cabinet, we wanted the message to be the best student outcomes result from the best teaching and learning. The best teaching and learning results from rich evidence-based teaching and learning development. So, how did we get this message to the stakeholders?
That's me.
I'll introduce Terri.
Ta-da. So, Stacy Gehrig accompanied us as well. As probably a chaperone more than anything. But she reached out to me and said, okay, now that we've got this far, right? Let's go ahead and take it further. So she set up a meeting with Dr. Quirk-Bailey and Dr. Awua and Laura, and there was a lot of faces around the table. So it was Stacy and I representing this plan. And it was really accepted well. There was a lot of good energy in that room. Dr. Awua from day one has always been about faculty development. I'm not sure that that message always was loud and clear like it's becoming now, but he is a big proponent of that teaching and learning development. And so some of the outcomes were, we went in with the assumption that with all these different fragmented committees that we have now, one for travel and one for this and one for that, that we would need almost a strategic planning committee to get it organized and up and running. And right away that was like, no, I don't think you need that. And we're like, okay. So what came about from that circle discussion was, and we didn't realize that when we were in Baltimore, Where were we?
Minneapolis. See, I told you we had fun.
Yeah. I was jetting around that weekend. I might have connected in Baltimore. I don't remember. But what we didn't realize was that administration and cabinet's already looking at redoing shared governance and restructuring that, and they came up with something they're calling a task force that they're going to really look at how to structure shared governance so that it's most beneficial, I guess, and a greater voice all the way around. So in light of that, she suggested that we start there. And since they're doing everything from the bottom up with their shared governance and all the different committees, that they're going to create a faculty development committee. And some of the things that that faculty development committee would be responsible for is, identifying priority ideas and topics and practices for faculty development, potential delivery methods to ensure development opportunities for full-time adjuncts, and those often lost and forgotten dual credit instructors that don't have any access to our faculty development. So we're excited about that. Establish a common time to deliver developmental opportunities locally, right? Because without a common hour or block, it's really hard for us to get together. Someone's excluded with the way we do things now. And so they're working really hard at a common block. It's not an hour, it's gonna be a couple hours. And it sounds like they're close to actually nailing one. I'm not sure how with the way nursing throws wrenches and everything with schedules.
It's all your fault.
I know. But we're excited about a common hour because that will really help to at least afford the opportunity for everyone to attend. Whether they choose to or not would be up to them. So that's a big thing. If we can nail that down, it's going to be easier to offer global institutional development. Processes for travel, approval, and reimbursement need to be smoother. They need to be more consistent. They need to be more transparent. I think the priorities need to be realigned because up till now, best I understand is it's always discipline specific. And so when I wanted to go to OnCourse to learn how to teach, I was told, no, that's not discipline specific. And really, I know my discipline, right? You guys know your disciplines. We need to learn how to teach better, at least I do. So we're going to look at those priorities and make sure that we're putting the money really where it's needed. Not that discipline stuff isn't, it's wonderful too, but we should choose what our needs are as faculty and not be dictated. And then clarification of roles and responsibilities for existing committees related to like the travel committee. And then just a system of accountability. If we are sent to a conference, what's our accountability in coming back and sharing that information? Because I think that's an important key role that we would agree to. Our hope is everyone has funding, not just $40,000, but everyone has guaranteed funding for travel every year or development every year. Another thing we talked about was bringing more here so that 100 of us could experience something instead of 2 for the same price of the travel. So we're really excited about these changes. The center, they heard that loud and clear, and if you know they're working on a commons right now, I think it's a bridge to where they want to go. I do believe there's a TLC, like a true center in the works. Dr. Awuah has it on his radar, but for now they heard us and they're working on this commons. It's a start. It's a start. I think it's a good thing. So what's going to happen? SQB is going to take everything to the Shared Governance Task Force to make sure that this is on their radar. Dr. Awuah is talking to the deans, making sure they understand this is a priority initiative this year. We are going to get together and share our thoughts again. I need to solicit your input about what we want out of that committee, what we feel is imperative, and then they're going to solicit feedback from all of you. What do you think a faculty development committee looks like, and what is their role and objective, and how would it benefit each of you? What would you want to see in that? So we're super excited. Teaching and learning is the basis of everything we do. We've always known that, but now it's starting to resonate farther out than just our faculty walls. So, questions?
So, didn't we at one time have a faculty development committee that got morphed into the organizational development committee?
Yes.
That got morphed into organizational learning plan?
Yes.
And so now we're.
Back to the
Okay.
future.
Okay. I was like, okay, it seems to me.
Yeah, we did.
I think we got away from it, and
Yeah.
I think we need to be called right back to it and rebuild that because it's just instrumental
And just to hear some of the comments from the other colleges and that had this teaching and learning community, they had so many great stories on what they were doing in their facilities, and we were just like, we have to get this.
Yeah, and it even included students. Like you can meet there with a student, or students can come in. It's kind of like this multifaceted space that could be very collaborative. So it's exciting. Any other questions? Is that what you thought we did all weekend?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Every point of it. I failed in having us all introduce ourselves.
I almost was going to say something.
I realized, because I was thinking, I was like, oh, there's a couple people up here that are like second year faculty, and they're really excited and they're really engaged in this, and I want everyone to know this. But I'm Julie Clemens, I teach music, so that's who I am.
I'm Courtney Arnett in dental hygiene.
Second year?
Second year, starting my second year, yes.
Rose Power, I'm in nursing. Not sure. 6 maybe?
6th year.
6.
Suzanne Singleton, nursing, year 2. Sherry Summeroth, nursing, starting my 3rd year.
10 years. Yeah. 10 year, 3rd year. Terri Punke, 10th year. It's my 12th class I'm starting of graduates. I know that much because I count everyone as they pass through. And I'm also the new Faculty Institute champion for this year. I'm super excited about that, and I think we could probably make some ties with all this.
So you're nursing.
And I am nursing, not nursing, but I am in nursing.
You are in nursing, yes.
She's currently
I'm
not
glad we're clear
nursing.
about that.
Well, you know.
Jane Foxman, Library Services Director.
And I'm Jessica Bastian, Digital Services Librarian.
James Decker, Professor of Humanities.
Ralph Murphy, business.
Any questions about what we did?
So one of the things that I really liked about ATD is we were all on these separate tracks, but the organizers did a really good job of like tying how all of these things that we're working on, cultural inclusiveness, OER, and Pathways Teaching and Learning Centers, they're really very intertwined. And pair that with the focus on adjunct instructors, because we heard about adjunct instructors a lot. And just really thinking about ways to incorporate adjuncts in all that we do. And then also how all of these things relate to each other, and really we can't work in silos. So that even though we were on our separate tracks and that we were doing our own thing, we would come together and be inspired by each other and really just, yeah, so that was really, I think, a benefit of the conference. And just remember that we need each other to really make an impact on teaching and learning and to really do what our students deserve. We need to be working together within that same lens and moving in the same direction. And ATD just did a really great job of framing that, I think.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Because you guys went to a different section, and I was just like, we were like, oh, I wonder what they're learning. And we all got back together, and it was like we kind of were doing the same thing, but just in different areas. And it was all very nicely structured. So, I mean, I thought it was a great first-time conference for me. So it's great.
It taught us a process.
Yeah.
Like we could come home and do
Yes.
this for something else. that
Yeah,
we
definitely
liked.
with our action plan. We
Yeah.
knew steps to take, and there was facilitators there to help us with anything if we needed it.
Yeah, and just so you know, with Achieving the Dream Teaching and Learning, one of their big thrusts is adjunct faculty. And typically speaking, adjuncts haven't necessarily been given any opportunity for faculty development, at least at our institution. But there's a lot of institutions in ATD that have done huge work and made major strides in providing really robust faculty development for adjuncts. As we all know in the community college, we come, and Dr. Wu says this all the time, we come into our job and we are discipline experts. I am really good at music. Well, I mean, I do music, but I don't know how good I am. But I'm good at music. But how I can actually teach that in my classroom is a whole nother conversation. And so we're all experts in our world, just like our adjuncts are. And that's why we want them here, because vocationally they know how to do that stuff. But then how can they translate that knowledge and that experience and share that with the students? And so it's just as important at ATD that those adjunct faculty have that robust teaching and learning experience as it is for full-time faculty. So I'm excited to be on this bandwagon, and I'm excited to see where it takes us in future years. So keep your ears open for the summit again. It's going to be in May. or the end of May, beginning of June next year. I'm not sure where, but
Las Vegas.
in Las Vegas. Is it really for real?
Starting to walk there.
Yeah. So I would recommend asking to go, seeing if that's a possibility, but at least knowing what we're doing out in the forefront, how we're moving forward, and how you can jump on board with us as well. So thank you very much.
I guess I would love some feedback. What are you thinking about the faculty development piece? Is it missing? Do we need more? Like what?
What were the specifics with the adjuncts? Like, were they paid for?
Yes, there was like
Yes.
a reimbursement and a reward system. A couple schools had tier systems. How much you did, it was reimbursed.
Everyone's a little bit different
Yeah.
how they actually make that happen, but there's
Across
lots
the
of different
board,
models.
across the board, the data shows that there's such a strong correlation between well-developed adjuncts and outcomes. Like, there's no arguing that data.
Contracts?
Contract, well,
Did
that's
most of them? Do you know?
not necessarily. Not necessarily. But since I know what you're getting at and what you're specifically interested in, because we're part of ATD, we have an entire wealth of other institutions that we can reach out to with and chat with and figure out what those models look like. And then start to talk about what those goals and action plans are to make that happen here. So that would definitely be something we should work on.
Love to.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things. The one is, my sister taught at North Central College in Naperville, and they were on a trimester system, so it would be different. But I did think it was unique. Didn't do this for every committee, but they had a week, was the week after Thanksgiving, and all committee work was done during that week, all faculty development. People, it was just like that was part of your contract, was you would be there that week. Then you didn't have to worry about scheduling this, scheduling that, because there were no classes, students weren't there.
Right.
And so it's, rather than trying to pick out an hour, which I think is gonna be really hard. And I will tell you, I'm on the completion team, and ATD is good in some respects. I will tell you that one of our first things that we did was to reach every one of us, call 5 to 6 institutions to try to get information so that we could have a starting point. Nobody heard from anything. It was the camaraderie of information, at least in the completion committee, did not work.
We were lucky and had some people give us cards. I mean, I left with a lot of business cards and they said, if you have any questions, just give me a call. Here's my business card. And I know some of you guys did.
We have some potential speakers.
Yeah,
We do.
and we had some speakers, so we were lucky with that
So
part.
hopefully that is different in other people's experiences.
Right. Because this was advising,
Yeah.
we contacted advising support staff, so maybe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you guys.
Sign in.